In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I'm here with Rachel Dillon, and she is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Strategus. And today we're going to be learning what Strategus is all about, who they're serving, and how Rachel thinks about growth for the company as well. So let's take it for another ride of the Pathmark Presents podcast. Welcome, Rachel.
Thanks, Lucas. Happy to be here.
Very cool. So give our listeners an overview. What is Strategus all about?
Yeah, thanks. Strategus is a managed service provider that delivers over-the-top OTT and connected television CTV campaigns. And so a little bit of kind of background on the company. We've been around since 2015. In 2015, we know a lot has happened in the streaming world since then, and that's the main way that we consume content on our televisions across the United States. This was accelerated significantly with COVID, with all the time that we were in our homes and consuming television during that time. And in 2015, we ran one of the first programmatic campaigns in the CTV space. Now, there's a lot of growth that has happened since then, but our company specializes specifically on OTT and CTV. We run these campaigns for brands all across the country and have had that as our sole focus, since our founding in 2015. One of the benefits that we provide to our clients, and I think this is really, really important, is, since 2015, we have focused on forging a number of different partnerships across the landscape with data partnerships. We have over 180 of them to ensure that we can provide the most streamlined and razor sharp targeting for our campaigns with an audience-centric approach on who do our brands want to reach with their particular advertisements and how can we do that in the most meaningful and strategic way. Many of the companies that we compete with are large tech companies, much bigger than ours. And the way that we've been able to really establish ourselves in the marketplace is with a nimble, kind of independent approach. We're independently owned. We can forge these relationships quickly, and then also, in some respects, move on from a product perspective to something that is going to drive larger results for our clients. In addition to the targeting that we've built out, we've also spent quite a bit of time focused on the attribution suite that goes along. So many of our advertisers need to know, great, a consumer saw my ad, but what did they do after it? What actions did it drive? And so that's a big focus, as well as OTT CTV is a brand awareness strategy, oftentimes coupled with other digital tactics, but ensuring that we can show that return on investment and that results back to our customers is a really big focus of our organization.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Could you give me an insight, like who would be the types of companies, that would be sort of knocking at the door for Strategus? Like what would be the types of teams and types of companies that would benefit the most?
Yeah, so many of our customers and our partners that we work with are actually small to medium-sized agencies who are working on behalf of the brands themselves. Our clients have spanned a variety of different verticals. So whether it be automotive, healthcare, credit unions, consumer packaged goods, QSR, legal, we have expertise, across verticals. But many of the clients that we work with are small to medium-sized brands who are looking for an outside party to help them execute on their OTT CTV campaigns. They don't have an in-house team of ad operations team that's executing the campaign. So they look to us for not only strategy around how to design the campaign. So what is the most effective targeting for this? What are some strategies we can bring back to the client on who they should be going after with their particular brand message? And how then can we track that so that they can see the impact of their advertisement? So a lot of that is in concert with our clients, who are those agencies. We design and bring to them some customized solutions. Everything we do is custom based off of the needs of the client, and they can then relay it back to their clients. We do also have some marketing teams that we work with that are, internal to a brand, so who may not utilize an agency And that's also, an area where we can provide a great benefit because of our team and how we're structured. We do have a sales organization, but then every salesperson is aligned with a client success manager, as well as an ad operations team member. So our value proposition to our clients is you're going to get a team who's going to work not only on the strategy of your campaign, but also the execution. So through campaign strategy, through the end, and when we're wrapping up that last campaign report, our team's involved along the way to ensure that we're optimizing to the results that we want to drive, to ensure that we're providing feedback to the client on recommendations or tweaks that we might want to make, so that they can then address the marketing needs and their goals and KPIs according to that particular campaign. So there's a lot of moving parts on our end, but that value to the agencies as well as the direct brands is immense.
That makes it very clear how you guys like supporting, who you're supporting really. Maybe last question on this one, like who typically within those agencies would raise their hand? Like what is a typical role? Is that like a chief marketer? Is that even the business owner sometimes? Like, is that, a strategist? Like who's reaching out?
On behalf of our clients, typically we're working with the media planners, media buyers, the digital strategists within the organization. Sometimes those relationships, though, do bleed over into the business development team or the principal of the agency, who is also looking at OTT CTV as a way to grow their business. OTT CTV, yes, is very, very prominent in the marketing world today, but there are very few companies that are positioned like Strategus from an independent standpoint to be saying, we're on the cutting edge. What can we bring to clients who maybe have traditionally had more of a linear budget and are having to shift that budget into more of the digital space and are considering OTT CTV? How can we guide them along that path and then also result in growth for the agency because they, have that edge from an expertise perspective. So there's a lot of times where we're working in tandem with our clients to help grow their business, help pitch to their clients so that they might grow. So that's where it would bleed into the business development, the agency owners. But a lot of times the media planners, the media buyers in the day-to-day, they're executing on the campaigns and ensuring that the dollars are going in the right direction. And that's where we take that as, hey, we've got a client, they want to spend $50,000 this month. Here's some of their goals. Can you put together a campaign strategy for us? And that's where our team goes to work and starts kind of building the magic on our end.
Very good. Okay, so we know who you're serving. We know what you guys are doing. I would be curious now to talk a little bit about sort of the growth for Strategus itself, because obviously you're heading up sales and marketing. So I'm curious right now, right, in these days, like how do people, learn about Strategus? Like what's the ways, maybe the key acquisition channels that you guys are leveraging?
Yeah, so many of our competitors, Lucas, are large companies with names that are very well known in the space. So it's been a challenge from a smaller organization to say, how do we kind of make a splash or become relevant when many people have not heard of us, even though we've been around since the very, very beginning of the space. And so a couple different ways that we do that, we do have strategic, channels from a digital perspective that, with regards to our SEO, our search, so that we can be relevant in the OTT CTV space for people who might be on the web looking for solutions. As I mentioned, there's a lot of activity in the space. There's a lot of people selling OTT CTV out there, and it can become quite crowded. We do have a content strategy through our website that allows us to create thought leadership blogs around the space. What we're seeing in our current campaigns, what we anticipate for the future. There's a lot of insights that we glean every day from the campaigns that we execute. We think it could be valuable to our clients and our customers who are wanting to ensure that they're on the bleeding edge of solutions as they go out and educate their clients. So content strategy, some of the standard SEO, and then just whether it is just the bread and butter and just kind of the normal day-to-day of kind of outbound, communication, email on behalf of our team. And that's something that we're looking to, kind of scale internally, but how, email in this day and age from an outbound perspective has become quite crowded as well, with all of us being working from home. And I think everyone's kind of taken to email from an outbound perspective. So we integrate some social outreach as well as, phone and then also have a PR strategy that overlays to all of that, where we can be relevant in some of the editorials that are out there in the space and put the strategist name. We just had a recent article on Consumer Reports where they were writing on OTT, CTV, and some of the innovations, and we were able to contribute to that. So we're always looking for opportunities to be relevant and provide great content to those who might be interested in OTT, CTV, and what's coming next.
Okay, seems like a very solid strategy from all the different angles. I'm curious, whenever I speak to the marketers on the show, right, they are always very critical, because you mentioned the website, they're always very critical about the website, right? From your angle, what would you say, in your perspective, is the major strength of the website versus where do you see the biggest room for improvement?
On our particular website?
Yep.
Yeah, so we just, that's great. I'm always, more critical of ourselves internally and what we could do better and some of the strategies we have on that. One of the areas we're focused on our website, and I'll just be, this is something we're in the throes of right now as a marketing team, is looking at, is our website providing the reader information readily so that they can access it in a meaningful way? We overhauled our website early on this summer, and we're looking at ways that we can parse through the content of what is relevant to our reader and what do they really will need to know about that's driving value. So the initiative we're in the process of is kind of rewriting some of the content, looking at where people are engaging most and trying to bring that front and center. Because I don't know about you, Lucas, but myself as a consumer, if I'm on a website, I want to find the answers to my questions very, very quickly versus having to scroll down. Those of us, I started in sales, can be, sometimes verbose in giving too much information, but maybe not, as succinct and to the point. So we're actually looking at that from a website perspective, and how can we, capture more traffic, give our readers and our consumers the information that they need more readily, and then ensure that we're keeping it fresh and that there's value add with regards to some of the content, as I mentioned, the blogs and case studies and other things that we deliver every month.
Like a running theme that we had on the show recently, and I want to bring this up with you as well, is obviously it's quite interesting specifically for services like yours to figure out why people not converting on the page. Like, how do you guys go about this? Like, how do you identify what needs to be changed on the website for even more clients getting started with Strategus?
We look at, first and foremost, just conversions and inbound leads. I think that's a leading indicator, but then also we've utilized outside resources like Hotjar, which gives us a heat map of our website, helps us to understand where people are spending time and where they might be bouncing off the site. If there are areas where there's, we might think, oh gosh, that video on the site is super engaging, but if our customers and our target audience is not engaging with the video, then we need to remove it. Or we need to consider about ways to tweak it. So those have been invaluable to us to ensure that we're providing the right type of content at the right pace to our customers, for them to gain the content that they need. And then of course we're looking for inbound leads or people to say, hey, Strategist, this is super interesting, I want to talk to you. But those resources such as Hotjar have been really invaluable for us.
Very cool. If you don't mind, I will ask one more questions on this before we moving on, learning more about your journey. How do you translate, a heat map finding, session recordings? We spoke about this on the podcast actually a lot. Like, how do you translate that into knowing what to change? Like, what's sort of your take on that? Because some people say it's sometimes tricky, some say it's not. Like, how do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's tricky. And I think, I go back to the data around A/B testing. So if we say, gosh, this video is not converting, we need to try something new. Okay, what are some different ways? Is it a static image? Is it different content? And then we roll that out and we wait and we look at the data and we say, is this increasing engagements? Are more people staying on the site? Are we increasing session duration? All of those components to ensure, is it working? And it might not. And it might be that we have to test 2 to 3 different things along the way to see if we're driving the results that are that we expect. And so I don't think there's a clear answer, Lucas, and I'm sure there's a lot of different conversation around how to, but the beauty of marketing, and I think is in this space, is to A/B test, see what resonates. And sometimes that can even be time bound. Certain things resonate, certain messages, to certain audiences at a certain time. And so how can we test, look at the data, and then iterate from there?
Yeah, very cool. So let's switch gears. As I mentioned, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about you, Rachel, because we have a lot of marketers on the show, and what we recognized is, or what we realized is, there is so much digital marketing content out there. You could keep educating yourself all day long with case studies and the likes. How do you deal with this? Like, where do you go to read? Like, what is your go-to sources for, educating yourself further in digital marketing?
Oh, that's a great question. So I am, I think from a content, the good old, and I know I say this, you can Google anything these days, and so many different ideas pop up. I'm a part of actually a peer group of revenue and marketing leaders, and we have a Slack channel where we're bouncing ideas back and forth and back and forth. And I like understanding from other leaders what their experiences have been. Yes, there's thought leadership, there's blogs, but I think real world experiences. Hey, we're experiencing this challenge, or we're experiencing this opportunity. How have you handled this? What have your results been? What are some different avenues that you explored in that? Because I believe in that, in kind of peer groups, you're able to hopefully learn from others' learnings as well as mistakes, and then augment from yourself as well. So that's been invaluable for me as far as going to a source. Yes, you can read up on things, you can Google a topic or what's new in inbound marketing today, and people will have 10 different ideas or suggestions. And again, that's why it goes back to testing what's going to be right for our audience, our business, and then iterate from there. And so that's, the peer group has been invaluable for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious on this, like, what makes a good peer group for you? Like, how did you, figure, okay, this is the group where I want to invest time? Because, I mean, Slack groups are also appearing for growth and, revenue sort of leaders. How did you decide about what is the group that you want to actually be involved in?
I think it's important to look at involvement and engagement of a group. Being a part of a group is one thing. If nobody's sharing anything that can be of value, that's a totally different perspective. So I look at, how engaged are people? What are the forums for engagement? I'm a busy executive. I don't have a lot of time on my hands. And so in this situation, it's a Slack channel where I can quickly push out a Slack and say, hey, has anybody had any experience with this? Can you direct message me and let's have a conversation? I've had a lot of conversations with people that I would never have connected with otherwise in that type of forum. I know LinkedIn has become that for a lot of people as well. In this digital age, you can connect with so many people regardless of time and space where they're located. And so people who are willing to share, who are willing to give feedback and ideas. Not all ideas have to be good ideas, but it's some help for me as an executive to have ideas that I can then weed through and decide, okay, based off of the input and feedback and what others have experienced in the space, what makes sense for our business, and what are we going to go out and try, and then how are we going to validate that it worked or didn't work.
Very cool. Let's wrap it up with the rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Perfect. Let's do it.
What's the last book you read?
Snowflower and the Secret Fan, probably riveting to all the listeners on here, but it's a 19th century book that's actually is set in 19th century China about foot binding and the women who lived in China during that time. So very, very interesting. I learned a lot of things I did not know about that time.
What's one single thing that the company is focused on the most at the moment?
Yeah, we're focused on scaling, and with that, we are having a large portion of our time focused on our processes. We are a small company that has grown very, very quickly, and that's incredibly exciting. But we know that for this next stage of growth, we need to have some, form and function for what we do. So we're doing a lot of time on analyzing our processes, what exists today, what needs to be added, and how can we frame this out as we bring on new team members so that they can decrease their ramp time to get up to speed on their particular role, and that we can look at efficiencies across the teams.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one thing that you would fix for your company today? Or for your role in your company today?
Oh goodness, no boundaries in tech. I would say I wish there was a magic CRM out there that would do everything automatically for me. That's kind of leading a marketing and team and, connections and integrations and scaling a CRM or a system. I was looking at our systems today. We're on about 5 right now. And even though, that's necessary for our business, I wish there was more efficiencies to be had there.
Very cool. And the last question would be, we do a bit of time travel, if you allow, right? We're going to be heading back to the days of Colorado Christian University. And essentially, I want to ask you if you would be sort of, heading out of education, you're into the world of marketing. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
Oh gosh, I would tell myself, I was a business grad, and I would tell myself to not be afraid to fail and try more new things. I've spent most of my career in entrepreneurial settings and in startups, and it's been great. But I think at the same time is take more risks along the way, and ask a lot of questions. But yeah, it's been a fun journey. I don't really think I change a lot about it, but I tell myself to be a little bit, take more risks and ask a lot of questions along the way.
Very cool. Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfunk Presents.
Thank you.